The following is a presentation from PokerStars.net.
Welcome to the best of the PokerStars.net big game.
Can you feel the love?
Let's go for it. Now, it's the big game.
You don't think I can make fun of myself a little bit?
Full house. That's what I'm talking about.
This is going to be a fun hand. This makes me as attractive as ever.
Come on. Oh, good read, because I was bluffing.
Listen to them. I just said right.
I'm Phil Hellmuth. This is the next generation.
I had you.
Yeah, big crush.
It doesn't get any bigger
than this.
This is the best of the PokerStars.net big game.
Hi, and welcome to Las Vegas and our state-of-the-art poker room. And though it's empty right now, it has seen plenty of action. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. Tonight, it's our best of the big game, Behind the Poker Face special.
That's right, folks. These are the hands that everybody's been blogging about, tweeting about, and occasionally they've even been having face-to-face human conversations.
All right, here's how things are going to work. First, we're going to show you the hands. Then you'll get inside the head of the key players who will describe how and why they made their critical decisions. Our first hand involves Phil Hellmuth and Daniel Negreanu. And when Phil Hellmuth is involved, things usually get interesting pretty quickly. Here's how Joe and I called it. The action does start on Phil. King 10 offsuit. Raises to 800.
I'm out of here.
Loose cannon
Oh,
folds.
he just made it 8?
What is Daniel looking at? 6 deuce suited?
This isn't all that uncommon of a hand for Daniel to limp in with. There has been a raise already.
How about a re-raise to 3,600?
Forget the loose cannon. Daniel's now trying to isolate Phil Hellmuth.
Doyle pocket jacks.
Don't think he was counting on Doyle waking up with such a big hand.
Who lost the last pot?
Now, Doyle would typically be the one to 3-bet in this spot with 2 jacks, but since Daniel did it for him, he just calls.
That gets Phil Lock and Tony G out of the hand, and now action back on Hellmuth. Makes the call.
Daniel's repping a big hand before the flop. Let's see if Doyle coming along for the ride causes him to change his game plan at all.
So 3 players to the flop. 5-7 queen. It misses everyone. Hellmuth checks.
That's right, so that means Doyle's still in the lead with 2 jacks.
Negreanu checks.
Now, you expect Daniel to try to continue his pre-flop ruse, but I think Doyle's presence in the hand has thrown him off a bit.
It checked around. A 4 of spades on the turn. No help to anyone.
Daniel has picked up a draw now. He has an up and down straight draw.
Phil Hellmuth chips in hand.
Finally feels like it's safe to maybe take a stab here.
Bet 7,000.
Well, Phil doesn't have anything. He's now leading out into a guy who 3-bet and another guy who called a 3-bet. So this bluff from Hellmuth actually carries a lot of weight. It's not just a snap call for Daniel with an open-ended straight draw.
I think I got the best looking into the...
Daniel does make the call.
Now, with Daniel and Phil raising and re-raising and betting into each other, it's going to be very tough for Doyle to know he has the best hand.
Gets rid of the best hand. So it's Daniel and Hellmuth off to the river, which is a deuce of spades. Daniel hits bottom pair.
Not only bottom pair for the board, bottom pair for the entire deck. Hellmuth has nothing, but he can still maybe win this pot with the right size bet.
Didn't Daniel say bluffs are good for the game a little earlier?
Only if you show him.
6,000.
Bet of 6,000 by Phil Hellmuth.
This is a very small bet compared to the size of the rest of the pot. It's also smaller than the bet he just made on the turn. Let's see if Daniel can figure it out.
Just don't reach for a bunch of those great chips.
Why? You might just shove it on me?
Phil insinuating he'll make a snap call. That orange chip is 25K. A lot of power in that little stack.
Negreanu makes it 46,000.
Daniels correctly read Phil is weak and stuck in a huge bet with only a pair of deuces.
Speech time. It's gotta come.
He might have like 6-9 offsuit. It's Daniel. Good bet.
And Phil lays it down.
Finally got there. Took a while, but I had you.
He nailed it. Look at that. That's sick. That's not going to look good on TV.
Yeah, whatever that is, it's not going to look good.
That's going to be bad for a profile, unfortunately.
Little do they know, Daniel did have the best hand.
I play so bad. I know Daniel's playing the rush and he's going to re-raise.
Yes, that was what I was doing.
I knew it.
The analysis post-flop is not the time to get it right. You didn't have a pair? During the hand.
You didn't have a pair? You couldn't call?
5-4.
Imagine you made like a call with 2 3s.
Huh?
What are you doing betting 6,000?
That's when I'm supposed to pick off all the chips from him. When
You bet 6,000?
When he starts messing with me.
That's if you have a like, if you
You
have
got Dole smiling, and he's stuck 100,000. That's hard to do.
look, we're just getting warmed up, Danny boy. Good play, buddy.
Thanks.
So Kid Poker outfoxed the poker brat, and then he gave us a chance to get inside his head as we go behind the poker face.
So the game has a very different dynamic when you got someone like Phil Hellmuth in the game, because he's going to start limping a lot more than what's typical in a 6-handed game. Now, we also had a straddle going on in this game, and he decided to knit up and not straddle, but instead he min-raised to 800 from first position. I decided to re-raise him with 6 deuce of clubs, and then my plan kind of got foiled because Thor Brunson called him the button. And I know he's not calling with garbage. Phil Hellmuth also calls. The 3 of us see a flop. Flops queen 7-5.
Check it.
Phil checks, and I start thinking about whether or not it's worth it to try to steal this pot. But I think, Doyle's got such a strong hand that it's too dangerous. So I decided to just give up completely. I just check. And Doyle, he thought for a bit, but he checked. Now the turn comes a 4, but it's also a spade. Backdoor flush draw. And Phil Hellmuth bets 7,000. And now I'm thinking, okay, he could be doing this with a hand like 2 8s, 2 9s, 2 10s. With the right card on the river, I could bluff him. Plus, I have a straight draw now. So I decided to call and reevaluate in the river. And Doyle, he folded on the button, so I was like, phew, got through him. Now the river is a deuce of spades. So it's kind of a weird card because the flush got there, so I could represent that. But I also made a pair. So if he has nothing, I can beat him. But he bets 6,000. I'm already like, okay, he doesn't have a flush. I've seen Phil Hellmuth make these bets a lot, and more often than not, it's usually not the nuts.
Just don't reach for a bunch of those great chips.
So I decide, I raise it. Like 40,000, he just instantly folded.
Good bet.
It really just came down to me knowing that his bet size on the river just screamed of a very weak attempt at a bluff. So I'm like, no, not on my watch. Just in case my deuces weren't good, I had to raise it and get him off maybe if he had a pair of 7s or something stupid like that.
Later, Barry Greenstein brings down a monster pot played against the 2009 main event champion Joe Cata.
I thought there was a chance he's just coming after me. He doesn't have to have a big hand because I am raising on the button.
But first, David Williams tangles with the loose cannon.
I didn't really think he was going to be bluffing at this stage, so I felt he definitely had something.
That's ahead. And remember, if you want to be a loose cannon and appear on the big game, log on to PokerStars.net. There are free qualifying tournaments every day. Plenty more Best of the Big Game when we come back. Welcome back to the Best of the Big Game, our Behind the Poker Face special. Our next hand involves a pair of 29-year-olds, aspiring poker pro Will Davis, one of our loose cannons, and poker veteran David Williams.
To this point in the game, Will was just getting comfortable and hadn't had much to play. Things were about to change when he got this pocket pair.
Quack, quack for Will Davis, the loose cannon. Races to 1,200. Masseri folds. Calicanis folds.
Garbage.
Daniel does as well.
How am I going to get your stack if you're not getting in there?
There's plenty of time. There will be plenty of time for that.
David Williams will play, pocket 10s. Pair versus pair. 5-4-4 on the flop. Williams checks.
The way the pre-flop action went, pretty safe board for deuces.
What's that?
Davis bets 2,100. Williams just calls.
A conservative play, trying to get a feel for how the loose cannon plays.
King of clubs on the turn. Williams with a flush draw now checks. So does Davis. A deuce of clubs on the river.
This is an action card. Will Davis is filled up, made a boat. David Williams has a flush.
He checks.
Will Davis should bet here, try to get some value out of his hand.
He does. Leads out 6,000.
This is a pretty big bet considering the size of the pot. It's going to be tough for David to call with a club as small as a 10. Also, with a paired board, David has to consider full house possibilities. Now, David knows he's playing against an amateur. To bet this size on the river definitely reps strength.
Guess we can't call the clock on him, can we?
Williams folds.
She gave me a big hand. I misplayed it probably. Didn't re-raise him pre-flop.
How was David able to get away from this hand? He told us as we went behind the poker face.
Early in the session, Will, the loose cannon, raised to 1,200.